so this is just a quick video because I am stuck in the house today due to terrible snow. You may also be stuck in the house due to terrible snow. So if you are, you might want to watch me refurbish this old Sega Master System controller. I didn't have anything better to do basically, so I'm stuck in the house and I'm refurbishing old controllers. So this is something I have to do a lot for an event I am involved in called Quiz Games, and some of you that follow me on Twitter may know me from such events, and anyone else watching may just follow me on YouTube randomly. Nevertheless though, I'm basically going to show you how I refurbish some of the controllers for events such as that, or even just refurbish them for my own use. And I'm going to do so today whilst enjoying some oolong tea. I got this tea from, 2 seconds, I'm going to have a sip. Yeah, sorry, my voice was getting a bit croaky there. Yeah, I got that tea from T2 and it's very nice. So this Master System controller is in the same kind of condition as a lot of controllers out in the wild. It's grubby, it's got years worth of dead skin cells on it, and it really needs some TLC. So we're going to refurb it today, and I'm going to show you the general process I go by when refurbishing old controllers. This is a bit of a simpler controller to refurbish. As you can imagine, refurbishing newer controllers, 360 controllers, things like that, those can be a little bit different. Because they have a lot more components and a lot more screws and a lot more to generally go wrong. So I thought it would be a good idea just to refurbish a simple one first for you on camera, just in case you're new to this and you don't necessarily take things apart a lot. I'm not going to scare you to death by showing you all different bits of screws and bits of clipping and things like that, so this should be a relatively relaxed video. So the first step to refurbishing any controller and getting inside is of course to remove any screws in your way. Now, this particular controller has 6 screws, of which are already removed. The reason for this is because I had to sit and drill them out because whoever used to own this controller, had stripped them. Which means that they used the wrong tool to try and remove the screws and buggered them, is the technical term for that. Basically you can't remove them because you've stripped off the crosshead or whatever it is the screw comprises of. Anyway, I've removed them, and I've also found some spare screws from my parts bucket, so we shouldn't have a problem getting it back together. So let's pretend that I removed the screws on camera. Once you've removed all 6 of the controller's screws on the back, make sure the front of it is facing away from you. Make sure that the cable isn't going to yank the controller out your hand and make everything go flying everywhere out of the controller, because that's happened to me before. And what you want to do is you basically just want to lift away the back half of the controller away from the front. Boom! Now lucky for us, there is no other screws involved in this controller. Everything is just held into place with the 2 clamshell pieces of the controller and some pegs for these boards. Now, be careful when you're removing these boards because A, they're in 2 different halves and only joined together by a bit of sort of grounding cable, and B, you want to make sure you don't yank this bit too hard because it is wrapped around some of the screw pegs. So what you want to do is you want to just gently lift it up and it should start to come out of place, and gently set it down somewhere so you don't balls anything up. What you're going to want to do next is remove these rubber membranes. Now, this is the membrane that connects the button to the circuitry and bridges the connection and tells the controller that you're pressing a button basically. So what you want to do is you want to just lift these gently up from the 2 sort of holding pegs, and now this one's for the directional pad, and these 2 here are for the buttons. So you just want to make sure you don't yank them or pull them against the peg or anything like that, because they are old, and old sort of rubber things may rip and tear easily. So you just want to be gentle with them because you'll be surprised how much damage you can do just by not really thinking straight and yanking things out of old controllers, because it does happen, they do break, and these aren't very easy to get a hold of unless you rip up other controllers. And if you try to refurbish a controller on the cheap, you don't want to wreck things that are unique to the controller, so just be careful. So now that all the gubbins is out of the way of the buttons, we can remove them, and I'm just going to turn this upside down and boom, that's the buttons removed from the shell. Right, so let's start cleaning up parts of this controller. So, my usual protocol for cleaning up old plastics and controllers like this is to get a big bucket of soapy water, let it steep, and then give it a good scrub with like a toothbrush or something like that. But I understand that not everyone is as patient as me, so what I'm going to suggest instead is, pardon me, just taking a sip of tea. What I'm going to suggest instead is use something like some Dettol wipes. Now, keep in mind you're not going to clean anything like the circuitry with something like that. You're going to just clean the plastics. Now, I know you aren't idiots, but you know, just in case you thought it was okay to clean circuitry with, you know, water-based cleaning products or bleach or anything like that, please don't do that. So this is as simple as it sounds really. All you're doing is grabbing the plastic, grabbing a Dettol wipe and giving all the nooks and crannies a good scrub. You know what guys, I've changed my mind already. I'm getting the big bucket of soapy water out because that is fecking disgusting. Right, so I've got my big bucket of soapy water ready, and it's just a mixture of some warm water and sugar soap. Don't make the water too warm and don't put too much of any cleaning product in the water because it might ruin the plastic, you never know. Anyway, tightly dunk some of the plastic pieces into this solution and leave them to steep for a little while. Give them a nice luxury bubble bath after all their hard work over the years. Okay, so while we're waiting on the bits of plastic from the controller having a little bubble bath, I'm going to show you a little trick in order to restore the rubber pads of which connect to the circuitry. So, these little rubber pads, they have like carbon or something on them. I'm not really too sure of the science. As you can see, they have little rubber bits that are black on a sort of rubber membrane, and those press against the circuitry. So what happens to these over time is that they get a sort of a shiny texture on the top of them. Now you'll probably not be able to make it out on camera, but the black bit on these membranes is rather shiny. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of that shine and make it a sort of matte black finish. Not to beat about the bush, the quickest way to solve this is to gently press your finger on the bit that would be pressed by the button so that it's sort of poking forward. And what you want to do is you want to get a sheet of paper like this, a blank white bit of paper, and you want to do this. Now what I'm doing is I'm rubbing the rubber pad across the A4 paper. Just make sure to be sort of careful while you're doing this because, as I said before, the rubber on these pads is very old and has been under a lot of strain by button presses and may not be as durable as it once was, especially when someone is rubbing it against a bit of paper. So as long as you're gentle, you should be able to get the job done just fine. But just keep in mind that these pieces are fragile, so you might not want to do this, but it is a good way to make the connectivity on the board a little bit better. Now another thing I like to do is clean up the contacts on the board a little bit. Now you don't have to do anything drastic here. All I'm going to do is literally grab an earbud or a Q-tip, as you might refer to them in the good old USA. And literally all I'm going to do is I've put some WD-40 on mine, but you might want to use isopropyl alcohol or something not conductive or damaging to the board if it's wet. Basically what you want to do is you just want to gently rub the metal pads on the board, and this will clean off any of the sort of black sort of gunk that comes off of the membranes or any dirt that might have got trapped in there over the years. Apologies about my hands, by the way. I'm kind of suffering from a skin condition just now, so if they look a little bit nasty, then that's why. The pads on that circuit board weren't too bad. They were a little bit dirty, as you can see on the Q-tip, but as long as you give them a sort of a general wipe, then it should be fine. Right, so we're back having a look at the plastic pieces in the bucket of soapy water. Now what you want to do is you want to steal your partner's toothbrush and you want to use it to clean the plastic pieces. Okay, no, seriously, this is. So what you want to do is you want to grab one of the plastic pieces and just give it a gentle scrub in the nooks and crannies, because hopefully the soapy water will have loosened any of the horrible dirt and grime off, so that if there is any left on it, it's just the odd little bit that you need to sort of scrub away. So just have yourself a relaxing little scrub. So once you've rinsed off all of your plastic parts in a sink or something to that effect, and you've left them to dry for a reasonable amount of time, it's time to put the controller back together. So what you want to do to start with is to basically do everything you've done the first time but in reverse. So you want to grab the front face of your controller, you want to find your D-pad, slot it back in the D-pad section. You want to find your buttons. Now the buttons are keyed. You'll have to put them in with the two little notches vertically because there's two slots for them to slide into. So you'll want to put them in that way, and once you've done that, of which I'm currently struggling to do, you'll want to put back in your membranes. Now remember, the tiny ones go where the buttons are, and you're wanting that black pad to face you because that's going to connect to the circuitry. And you're going to want to put your D-pad one back in as well, and this is keyed, and it's keyed sort of slanted like this way, diagonal. So you're going to want to make sure you get both holes in the two little pegs, and make sure that the black pads are of course facing towards you. Once you've done that, now this can be a little bit tricky, but bear with me because it should be all right in the end. So what you want to do with this is you want to first of all make sure that your cable wraps around the correct pegs, and it's sort of easy to see where this cable came from if you remember from when you took it out. You should basically keep in mind what peg it wraps around, and as you can see I'm just gently pressing in the cable to wrap around the correct peg, because you don't want to catch the cable when you're screwing it in or anything to that effect. And again, you'll know if you've not done it correctly because nothing will fit back together quite right. And there you go. So you should find that both boards sit nice and flush, all in the 4 pegs or 2 pegs if you're talking about the directional board, and you should find that the whole controller sort of just sits in there nice and neatly. Now, last but not least, you want to stick the back of your controller back on. So make sure you're not catching your cables or anything sort of loose still hanging out. Just make sure you've definitely got everything back inside the controller case so that you can simply pop the top of it on. And now I almost made a grave error and almost put on the bloody controller upside down. Make sure that your through sort of hole there for the cable is of course at the top. Now, once you've done that, it's time to screw it back together. So I'm just going to start placing the screws within the screw holes, and now I'm going to screw these in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a sort of pattern. So I'll do this top middle one first, and just make sure you don't use too much force. They'll go in the way they're meant to go in. Don't try and force anything or you'll strip the screw or damage the casing. Now I'm going to do it in a sort of diagonal sort of pattern, and the reason for this is it means there's less of a chance of you damaging the board from it sort of having too much strain on one end. Don't know if that makes sense the way I worded that there, but I'm going to go with it. Once we've got the controller back in one piece and all minty fresh, it's time to give it a test drive. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a simple refurbishment for a simple controller, and it's something I hope that you can do yourselves if you have a controller and it's not quite working properly or if it's a bit grubby. I'm hoping that you can take something away from this video and give it a go yourself. Anyway, I'm going to play some more Master System on my Mega Drive, of course, just to be awkward, and I'll catch you again soon for another video.